Hi, and welcome to the Grace Cycle Show. I'm your host, Karen Dittman, and our goal is for you to stop trying harder in your relationship with God and find a different way to grow through His grace. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about connection. But before we get started today, do you feel like you're running on a hamster wheel and it just won't stop? If so, then I have something for you. It's my quiz, How Fast is Your Hamster Wheel Spinning? Check out this 50-second quiz at hamster.onefit-wellness.com or just click on the link in the show notes. This quiz is going to help you see what's spinning your hamster wheel, how it's impacting you, and discover what you can do to help slow it down. So let's jump in today and talk about connection. Do you like puzzles? My husband and daughter and I all really like puzzles, and we have for a long time. And there was a time when we used to set up puzzles on a table in our basement because it was kind of out of the way and you could just go and work on it easily anytime you wanted. But my son's cat discovered the puzzles. And so at one point we had this big 1,000-piece puzzle that we had just barely started working on. And we came downstairs and we found that the cat had, like a cat, knocked some pieces off. So we'd pick up the pieces off the floor and put them back. And then we discovered that the cat liked to knock the pieces of the puzzle off and chew them up. And sometimes they got batted under a sofa or something. And that was just really infuriating. But I tell this because I like this metaphor of building a puzzle for how we fit in with what God is creating in the world and in history. In a sense, each one of us is like a puzzle piece, and we've got our own place and we've got our own piece of the picture of God's glory and God's goodness that we show when we are fit in the right place. So connection, when I'm talking about connection, this looks like being your truest self, fitting in the place where God created you to fit with your God-given gifts and purpose and reflecting His image. And now I'm aware that sometimes somebody tries to put me in the place where I don't fit. Sometimes there's a demon cat that's knocking me off the table. And sometimes there are things and circumstances in my life that leave me feeling like a chewed up piece that's been shoved under the sofa, lost, damaged, useless. But let me tell you, in God, that's never the case. God loves to take us in our brokenness and take us from these chewed up puzzle pieces to being restored, to fit where He intends, and He is not going to give up on you. That's how He shows up for us, by His grace, restoring us, redeeming us, giving us purpose, and putting us back into the picture so that we can be part of reflecting His beauty and His glory. So that's what fitness looks like. I'd like to talk a little bit about how do you even get there? How do you become connected and fit in your place in God's plan? In our last episode, I talked about curiosity. And so this is an important tool to help with our connection. When we take time in God's presence and when we take time to explore how He has made us, then my curiosity can help me understand a little bit more about my gifts, my spiritual gifts, my natural gifts and talents, how those fit in with my purpose, the passions that God has put in my heart, how those go together to help me understand His plan for me. I think I'm going to record a special mini bonus episode with my husband, Michael, because he and I put together a tool. We did this like 25, 30 years ago. It's called Discover Your Spiritual Gifts and Ideal Ministry. And it is a tool to help you figure out how God has gifted you with a spiritual gift, but also how your personality and your tendencies and your heart fit in to where you can serve God in the world and in the church. So if you are interested in getting a copy of that Discover Your Spiritual Gifts and Ideal Ministry tool, just send me an email, thriving@1fit.us, and I'll email you a free copy of that. And like I said, I'm probably going to have to get with Michael and record a bonus mini episode just to talk a little bit more about that. But again, going back, curiosity, spending time with God, exploring who He has made me, how He has made me, is important to begin to find my fit. Maybe you just need to try some new things if you don't really understand where your fit is, and just try something new. Maybe just try a new ministry at church that you haven't done before. Maybe get with a friend for coffee and see what might come up in that conversation. And just try something new and different that maybe you haven't tried before and see how it lands on you. Something else that I think is important, especially if you're pretty clear on your purpose, on your giftings, on your heart and passions, is to set boundaries. Because sometimes people will come in and try to shove you in the wrong place in that puzzle, and you know that's not where you belong. And it's okay to say no. And I know as a woman, it's very hard for me sometimes to say no to people. And I want to keep other people happy. But what happens is somebody is trying to push me into a place that is not where God has gifted me to be, or not where God intends for me to be serving, and it's just not going to work out. So it's better to say no now than to have to come back and get out of it later. So in order to experience true fitness, we need to have healthy connection with God, with ourselves, and with other people. Let me share what this can look like. Connection with God. The reality is, God knows you best because He made you, and He is unveiling His purpose for you throughout your life. One of the things that I think is beautiful is I have known women who have been in their 70s and beyond. When I talk to them, it's pretty clear, and they've even said to me, I haven't arrived. I haven't got it all right. And I love that because it encourages me that it's okay to continually be learning and growing and changing. And maybe God is moving me into different things in different seasons of my life. And that's a good thing. Connection with God can also bring you direction in your choices as you're listening to Him. Because again, He knows you. He knows you better than you know yourself. And also, it's possible you might feel disconnected from God. And that is also very normal for a number of reasons. If that's the case, I would encourage you to, on a regular basis, take time to get alone and just be in His presence. Open yourself to His love. Ask Him to restore your connection with Him. Because that connection with God, it is foundational to everything else. It's the most important connection. Your connection with yourself is also really important. This can look like curious awareness. And I talked about curiosity in the last episode, but curiosity and connection with myself do go hand in hand. It's important to pay attention to whether you are kind of living on autopilot, just going through day after day, doing whatever needs to be done, or are you seeking understanding of yourself? Because the more you're seeking to understand yourself, your heart, your mind, your soul, how this is all working together, the more connected you will be to yourself. An example might be, for me, sometimes when I feel really strong emotions, I get extremely angry about something or very sad about something, or maybe have anxiety rising up over an issue. I have to step back and say, okay, I'm feeling this feeling and I'm feeling it big. What is underneath it? What is causing this feeling to be so big, maybe even bigger than the situation calls for? And often I find it's because there's something else in my story that this event that triggered the emotion has touched on. So it helps me to become aware as I'm more connected with myself and more connected with my story and my history, to pay attention to that and to surrender these things to God. But connection with myself really helps me to learn what I need in order to grow. And then it's so important to have connection with other people. So by this, I mean we need to have supportive community. We need people in our lives who are not judgmental, who are cheering us on, and we are cheering them on. We love one another. We are all seeking to grow together. And that's so important, that I stay in relationship with others who are seeking to grow closer to God and seeking to grow in relationships. Another key to this is when conflicts come up in relationships, as they will, that we address the conflicts and we understand the issues that might lie underneath them so that we can grow closer to one another and honor God and grow in love. How do you foster these connections? Spend time together. Don't ignore or push down the conflicts. Address them openly and honestly with kindness, not with blame, but addressing the conflicts with things like statements of what I heard instead of what you did. And I'll have another episode down the road about relationships. So I'm not going to go too deep into that, but this is important because it is in conflict that we can actually build healthier relationships, even in discomfort. Spend time together having meals with other people. Be honest about where you are in your walk with God and ask other people where they are in their walk with God. Ask one another, how's your heart today? Ask one another, what's God teaching you today? Or what has been the biggest influence on your thinking lately? Some of these questions, as you spend time with others, will help you build deep, honest, and real relationships. So I just wanted to recap here. You can think of yourself as part of this beautiful puzzle that God is creating and putting together. The purpose of what God is doing is to show His love and His glory in the world. And you do have a place. You do fit in. The way to improve your fit is by fostering healthy connections with God, with yourself, and with others in supportive community. So maybe you're thinking, well, this all sounds great, but you're still struggling to understand connection. And possibly there are some things that are on that hamster wheel of your life that are causing you to feel like you're stuck in growing in connection. So I'd encourage you once again to check out my quiz, How Fast is Your Hamster Wheel Spinning? It's at hamster.onefit-wellness.com. Click on the link in the show notes to get there quickly. And this quiz and the results will help you to figure out your next steps to thrive by living in grace. So that's it for today. I'd appreciate it if you would just take a second to subscribe to the show so you know when the next episodes are coming out. And it would mean the world to me if you would rate or review the show. That way more people can find out about it. Until next time, get curious, stay connected, and live in grace.